Sound trumpets, let our blood colors wave, and either victory or else a grave. It is war's prize to take all vantage. Boy, huh, 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 that I may truly say, with hook-nosed fellow of Rome, I came, I saw, I overcame. Yeah. Hello, this is the tutorial for C# and Unity. My name is Zach Morgan. Let's see here. I've been programming for around 5 years professionally. It's been a hobby much longer than that. Say the past year or so, I really got into game programming and decided to make a tutorial. So, C# was created in 2002 by Microsoft. It's a higher programming language than C++ and definitely from C. Um, and I think it's a good place to start. You can get some good Windows applications, some you can use it with ASP, so for some web and databasing. It's a pretty good programming language. And then there's Unity that was developed and created in 2005. It was meant to be a platform for artists, designers, and developers to create an interactive experience with different games. It can create a simulation to push it out to mobile and other platforms as well. There's a recent dichotomy with their pricing structure with Unity that caused a lot of people to kind of give them some backlash about it. But they changed their structure again, so people are more willing to program in Unity and learn from it rather than starting in other platforms like Unreal. So I think it's a fun platform to code in. So let's get started. So basically, in the beginning, you'll download Unity and get whatever version is newest. Mine's 3.8.0. And then you'll go in and install the core, which I have a 2022 320 F1. I'm using pretty simple commands as much as possible for the newer developer into C# and Unity. So a lot of the stuff I use here should be able to move forward with newer versions. I'm pretty certain about that, but never know. Okay, so you can create a new project. There is a difference between the universal 2D and built-in render pipelines. We'll just use the built-in. I won't get into all these extra details this tutorial. We'll just name it Duel, or whatever you want. You could name it Knife Fight or something. This will take just a moment to open. Let's see. While that opens, I'll get back into this game to kind of show you what it is. So we have hearts up here to show your health. We have basic movements, left, right, and you can jump. And then when you get close enough to this AI, he'll start coming after you and start to attack you. He's on an easier level, and then once you hit him enough, he will go down, and also when he hits you, he removes hearts. We'll get into all that into this, and I think that's a good starting point for any developer wanting to do 2D platforms. Once you do everything I show you here, you should be able to go in and start making your own 2D platformers pretty easily and build upon them. I don't get into the animation too much. We will get some assets that already have the animation for this guy, so it's really meant for the coder starting out, and then everything else can come secondary. But I will broadly touch into it so you can understand the shallow parts of it, and that you can build upon that pretty easily. Okay, so that should be open by now. So this is your dashboard this is gonna be your scene. The scene is where all the cake happens, all the magic. You know, you throw all these little spells and ingredients into a pot, and it comes out in the scene. You know, boils into a nice magical package. The main camera will be your point of view of the player. You can switch between like a preview of what that camera sees in this game, and kind of like when you press this play button, it starts to run the scripts for that. Down here will be like your folders, and up here will be when you click on a game object, everything will come up. Okay, that should be the basics of it. In another tutorial, you can do something where it turns green or blue when you press this play button. I suggest going and doing that. I won't cover it in this tutorial. Now we need to get all of the resources ready for us to start programming. So we'll go up here to Window and go to the Asset Store. Okay, so there's going to be 3 assets we'll get. One of them is just a link I will add here. This user did another tutorial on another video I will link. You can go also watch his video on 2D platforming as well. This is his HealthBar picture that I am using. So you will basically just download both of these. I guess I'll just do it right now. Download. Okay. Then here in the asset store, we're going to grab just these 3. Free Pixel Battle Background by BG Studio. And then Bandits and Hero by Esfin Thole. So I'll click here on Esfin Thole. Is it gonna go? Oh, it already is doing it. Okay, so you just go in here and click on Open in Unity, and there might be another button that says Add to Assets. You can do that too. Either way. So I want you to go to that, and the third being BG Studio Pixel Battleground. These are all free, by the way. Studio. There. So the free one, Pixel Battleground. And after you get them, click the Open in Unity. And so this will just automatically open up this other window next to it, Package Manager. So you'll just go into here. It'll show all your packages. You can press the download button. I've already downloaded them, so it doesn't show it for me. But then you're going to press import. Import them. Then you're going to go down. Other ones. I think this is it. By Esfin Thole. Yep. And Hero Knight. Cool. And last but not least, need our downloaded files, the hearts. So we can basically just go to this assets folder, go to create, or right click right here, press create. Let's do 2 folders. Let's do name one the heart bar, or the health bar, sorry. Health bar. And let's name one scripts, because we will put all of our scripts in here that we create. Okay, so in health bar, we drag those 2 items to it. And I've already downloaded them, so I'll get those 2. Cool. Awesome. So now we have all of our assets. Okay, so basically this is our scene. We're gonna go here to the background. Well, first let's kind of organize, right? So we can create empty game objects, and we can just even like just label them things, and then other things can go underneath them. So let's create a game controller, and let's create a player. Well, a background. Okay, a background. Create ground player and bandit. And we'll need one more. Well, we'll add the rest in later. We'll also add like a canvas for the health bar. So for now, we'll go to this background, right, and come down to free pixel battlegrounds, backgrounds. Go to the background, and we'll choose one of these. You can choose any one you want. You know, I think I will go with this one this time. You can just drag it over here. Now we'll just drag this corner down and just match it up with the camera. It's up to you really. You can make it bigger if you wanted just a section of that picture in there, but for the sake of simplicity, I will do that. Okay, cool. So that's in there. Now that is in there, we will click on the player. So that's 002, drag it to background so it's underneath it. Let's go to player, click on this hero knight, and now let's just go into their already previously set up. All the animations are already together in one area. There's different colors of clothing. I'll just choose this one on all the way to the left, just the regular hero knight, and drag and drop him in. Okay, so you notice he's kind of disappeared, right? So if I'll drag him in to hit the player thing. He's kind of disappeared. So the importance of a 2D programming is the Z ratio. So you take the Z over here for this background, and you can just kind of just put 3 on there, because we know this guy is at like 0, you know. So we'll just put it behind him, and then he's looking really small. So let's make him bigger. You know, let's I think that's about right there. Okay, cool. So there's our player, and we can just delete off this hero knight script that came with the asset, but we're not going to be using that. It has extra stuff for rolling and stuff if you want to use it later, but we're going to be reprogramming, so no reason. Okay. And since it's a prefab, it just didn't just leave, because you can kind of just like drag and drop this all over. We don't want to remove it from the prefab. Okay, so if you were to play this right now, guy would just drop, right? Because Unity has gravity working on the game just in general. You can stop this. Well, not in general. It's just you see this box collider and the rigid body. These give um, gravity to the object. This makes it so no object can go through him. So box colliders will kind of bounce off each other. Rigid body can take effects of physics. So this is kind of giving it its gravity scale right here. See, if you add a 0 to the gravity scale, this guy will no longer drop. See that? Okay, so give it back to 1 gravity scale. And so to make this hero not drop, we will go and right click on ground, and we will create 2D object, right square. Okay, so we'll just pull this square and make it like this big, and then somewhere where we want our people to walk, Maybe right there. We'll put it. Now go over and click on this little down arrow and choose color and drag this transparency all the way to the left so it's not transparent at all. And then add a box collider, 2D to it. Sometimes we use triggers so it can go through objects and then just see if it's inside of it, but we're not going to this time. We want the user to stop on it, player, so see here, now he's stopped. Cool. So now we can add in our bandit. Go into demo, it's heavy or light bandit, I'll choose light bandit. And do the same thing, kind of drag him. Make sure his gravity is working. Boom. Great. Okay, so now that our scene is set up, well, besides, I'll add this, the canvas and the user interface in later, but besides that, we are ready to start programming our scripts for these guys. Okay, when I was talking about this ground square and I said to move the transparency all the way to the left, I meant so it is no longer visible. I accidentally used the word transparency a second time, messed it up. Rather than going in and changing the video, I thought I'd say it here. So there might be a couple of mess ups like that in this video. I apologize about that. Okay, so moving on. I'm going to make this one quick. We're going to start with our scripts. This script is the GameController. So I'm going to go to this GameController object. I'm going to add component, new script, and I'm going to call it GameController. Okay, so after you add it here, you have to right click and go to edit script. Okay, so in Unity, generally when you start a new script, it'll give you a start and an update. Start happens whenever this script on whatever game object is instantiated will start. So obviously if this is copied on different game objects, because it's object-oriented programming, they'll start at their own given times. So we are not going to need start in this case, and then the update method, like it says, it's updated once per frame. So we're just going to check it with our logical if statement, which in case you don't know what if statement is, it's like if this thing in here is true, then do this. If not, move on. And then you can put like an else, another logic, or another statement. Okay, so if input dot get key down, which is a function in Unity's library, well, it basically just gets keyboard characters. Keycode dot r. Great. Okay, so when we have that, we'll just take the scene manager, which is just another data structure that manages the scene in the background. Scene manager dot get active scene dot name. So basically, we're just going to reload the current scene when we press R. Okay, so in the game controller, it's already added. Let's go test it. Okay, so R reset. Okay, cool. So our game controller is working. So now we can move on to this guy's health player controller so that we can start to move the character around. We are ready to build the player controller. That'll basically we'll build that to give us access to the player's animator and give it commands to control him with the keyboard. So I'll go to the hero knight because he has the rigid body that we'll need in this script. Go to new script, player controller. You can either right click here and do edit or double click there. Makes no difference. So previously I had been building this and I realized some of this was pretty complex. I spent too much time going into it. So I wanted to reduce it and kind of just glance over this really quickly. So these are the variables that we're going to describe the character with. That's going to help us to move him through this world we're creating. So when we do serialized field, that makes it so that we can adjust these numbers. Over here, it'll pop down, kind of like a box like this. Serialized technically, well, in the same way, I guess. And so we wanted the speed, how fast he moves, how hard he jumps. This is just something that came with his animations because I think there's like a blood one and one without. This is access to the animator, the rigid body, kind of like where he is. The ground sensor that we talked about before, which direction he's facing, because his sprite will need to be flipped depending on which way he's going. There's 3 attacks. So in the animator, it kind of works like this. There's a way to be more graphical about it. You can create different objects and states to move to. And so also in the animation, you can see in the attacks which one is which. These are basically just GIFs on top of each other. A bunch of different ones, just managed by a animator. Okay, so we wanted to wait for an animation to end in order to start the next attack as well. So that's why the time since attack is there. Okay, there's a live. So this will grab the animator that's on the game object that this script is on. So the animator is attached to this hero knight right here. So it's just grabbing it there. Same with this rigid body. And same with the ground sensor, except this transform.find is basically finding it by its name and then getting the component because that is not attached to the hero knight. Well, it's under it, but it's not the same game object. So it's going through its name, then it's going to its script. All right, moving on quicker. Basically, we're just adding to the time between attacks. This is just setting the script for whether he's standing on the ground or not. Okay, now we can move on. So now we'll try to get our key bindings. So we obviously don't want to be able to control him if he's dead, right? So if alive, so input x is equal to input dot get access. Get access is another function of Unity for getting like left or right or whatever that might be. It's so in this case it's like the left arrows or A and D, kind of like WASD. Okay. Go with input and movement. Swap a direction of a sprite. So if we turn, we will swap how the sprite moves. And so less than 0 obviously means, not obviously, but means to the left of wherever you're at. Because normally the frames start with 0 being up here, 0, 0, and then like 1, 1 down here, or something like that. So if you're here and you're on the x-axis, then negative is this way and positive is this way. Same with the y, positive is up, and the farther you go down is more negative. So we're going to get a component, sprite renderer, in this case because we're using sprites. Flip x. It's false. So Actually, that should be greater than 0. So if it's facing to the right, he is not flipped because it comes facing to the right. Like right now, he's facing to the right. Okay, so yeah, makes sense. So 1. So that means he's facing to the right. Else, if x is less than 0, same thing, but flip it so he's facing to the left. Face Sprite to the left. Okay, so now we'll get into the movements now that we've figured out the sprite and got that working. So movement. Let's go with the embody 2D. This is the rigid body that we assigned up here. Basically, you know, everything that the physics is working on. Velocity is like its movement. A vector is basically just like a few points, like an X, Y, Z. But in this case, since it's 2D, we're just mainly using X and Y. Okay, so we want to do, we want to do input of what direction we're going times the speed we're going. Okay, and then we want to send in, that's for the X. The X is the input X plus times the speed, and for the Y, we'll just maintain whatever velocity the Y is at. In case he's like jumping in the air, so we can just maintain whatever that is. And there's other logic that will figure out the Y. Okay. Cool. So new vector, speed of X, speed of Y. So we're setting that movement. Okay, so this is something that's kind of part of the asset, like airspeed. I didn't really get into this too much yet, but I think this depends on how fast they're falling. If they're falling. You don't have to worry about this one. Okay, so now let's get into attack. If input dot get mouse button down, and time between attacks, time since attack is greater than. Looks like the animation goes for about 0.25 f. So we'll do, so it starts 0, which is attack number 1. So then when he attacks, go to attack 2. Or to attack 1, technically. Starts at 0. Okay, so let's see. To the 1 after the 3rd. And And if you do it on the next line down, you don't need to open and closing brackets if it's only one line of code after an if statement. I guess I'll just take wherever it's at and add it. So I guess in the beginning it might be 0, but that would be the first attack, but whatever you stop at. Okay, anyway. Set attack combo. Oh. Attack combo. F. Go with M. Attack is equal to 1. Alright. Then we will call whatever attack is on, we will call that animation. Animator.setTrigger. So set trigger is how you'll basically tell the animator what trigger you're on of these. So see here, you go to all these little triggers, attack 1, attack 2, and so on. Run, idle, fall, death. So you'll set the triggers in order for the animation to start at those points. Okay, attack plus M current attack. All right, reset the timer. Okay, so that should cover it for attacking. Okay, if mouse button down. Okay, what else if it's a different button? Let's get jump. Jump. Else if put get key down space and am grounded because you don't want to jump if you're in the air already. So we're going to set the animator trigger to to jump. Okay, so that'll start the jumping animation. I want to make sure that we're not on the ground anymore. Our boolean, all of our different booleans, including our animation one, our animation parameters. You can add those as well. Now we want to cause the rigid body to jump, and that is when you'll actually see the jump happen. That'll be a vector as well. So we'll maintain the velocity of x, apply the jump force to y. Disable the ground sensor to okay. Next, let's go with run. Else if say you're moving in a direction. So if this character, this isn't going to grab it by the keyboard because it already has movement up here. So we'll do math f. So absolute value, a function of the mathf library, greater than mathf epsilon. Actually, I haven't used this function before. Not sure what epsilon actually is, but this asset was using it. Okay, asset reset timer, delay to idle 0.05. So if you're moving, reset the idle timer. And also if you're running, you can also set like the trigger to run technically normally, but the way that this asset is set up, in order to change the state into like a running state, this is how it's done. So this is the running state for the character. For the bandit, that's actually number 2. Okay. And then we will go, and if all of this fails and no inputs are happening, he will idle. Okay, so delay it to idle. So prevent finish animation before moving on. If sorry, my poor typing sometimes. Animator. What did I name that again? Capital. Cool. Great. So now, last but not least, we want to program when this user if it gets hurt. So to cause that animation to happen from our health box or whatever we need to call it with, our health bar. HealthController, sorry. Public void hurt. Let's just go hurt. Animator.set trigger. We'll go hurt. Void death. Say animator set trigger death. Also alive equals false. Okay, so should be good for all of that. In order to test some of this, well, I guess we already know it's working because let's go test it. We need see, we're not getting any commands. If alive equals true. Definitely want him to be alive. Start the game. Okay. Live. Okay, there we go. Looks like we have some problems. What else are we having an issue with? If alive, movement's working, attack's working, jump is not working. M is grounded. There. Do a little breakpoint. Alrighty, it looked like I did a capital on space that was not supposed to be there. So let's test that again. Okay, so great. He can attack, run, and jump. Fantastic. Okay, now we will start to make our bandit interactable. First, I'll stop the game from playing. Go into the bandit, add component, new script. Call this the BanditController. Someone could call it a monster controller if it was controlling a lot of different enemies or monsters. I've developed games where there's 5 or 6 different types of monsters that would have the same monster controller because each you could set different variables per monster depending on what you build with it. Okay, go to edit script. Also, I'm going to paste something in of what I programmed before because I don't want to waste too much time on it. What I paste in is the variables just to describe the character. Just like before, the speed to jump for is facing is dead. Animator, the ground sensor. He has a slightly different way to idle him. Okay. And then on the start, we just set up the components of the animator, rigid body, just like before. You've seen this. Making sure he's on the ground, preventing, making sure that when he idles, he's checking to make sure that he's ready to idle. Okay, so since this is a player that we're going to be kind of controlling through like his AI, we're not necessarily going to create like any keyboard things. We're going to create some commands that he accepts in order to make movements that his animator will respond to. So we'll make some methods that we'll call from different scripts for it. Whoa. I need to do this outside of that class or that function outside of this method. This is the class. Okay, so it doesn't need to be inside the same class. It's outside the function because it is its own function. Okay, float direction. So basically, we're just gonna make it so pass in the direction I want him to move, and yeah, that's what we'll tell the character to run. Okay, so float input. Let's say make another class called private we'll just make the character into a moving state. We'll reset the idle countdown. Just like before, this is set off of some integer parameters inside of the animator. This could be done by setting the trigger too, but because it's just the way it's programmed in this way, it's better this way. Okay, so I'll call moving inside the move class, and it'll just set the animator to moving. Then, let's see, he'll need to swap the sprite directions. So if direction 0, 1, which is right, it's less than 0. Technically, we don't need. If facing. Okay. And then to finish it off, we will make the rigid body that this object is. It is attached to this object. Make it move. So body 2D vector 2 direction times the speed. This is for the x value times the speed y value. So just make him face a direction and go to that direction, whatever direction we pass it. Because in the movement he's not flying or anything, so this is like just left or right. If you're trying to make a flying character, it'd be slightly different. Okay, so we got move. What else might he have? Probably hurt. Hit him. Statement, actually, you need some brackets. Let's see. We just set the trigger for this case to hurt. And we will need a death. This, we will go the trigger, death, and then we set left false, dead equals. Okay, so we got hurt, death, moving. Let's see, I guess we need attack. Public void attack. So moving, and now we just need jump. Public. False. Animator grounded. Parameter. Now let's apply vector. Gotta have the X and Y. So we got to do the body 2D, just pass in the X because we're only wanting to affect Y right now. And just the jump force. There we go. Make sure the sprite can finish for the jumping. Okay. All right. I believe that should do it for setting up. So we just need to make sure these two are set. I mean, we could test it, but we'll test it later. That attached to him is facing -1. Okay. Awesome. All right. Now that we have both characters interactable, we'll move on to the health. Over here and go down to Add Component, New Script, HealthController. Right-click on HealthController, Edit Script. All right, so we will need a few fields here, such as serialize field, which, like I was explaining before, makes a little box so you can input like data at any time. Set the max health there. We'll actually set it to 10 here as a default in that field. Okay, public float current health. Go private player controller. And we're going to give an invulnerable timer. So if you ever end up adding more than one opponent, they hit you pretty close together, you don't just die really quick. Float. Time. Invulnerable timer. One's going to be the start and one's going to be like the countdown. Timer. So we're setting the max invulnerable time between attacks to 1. And you could serialize this too if you want to change it pretty quickly later. Maybe it's actually worth doing. Timer, a serialized field. Obviously, make it can still be private. Okay. All right. So now we go into the start. Starts. We need to player controller equals get component player controller. And A. Okay. I guess there could be a good reason to use that on awake as well, just in case you start anew. Like set the character Yeah, whatever, let's do it this way. Alright. Vulnerable timer. Cool. So, since we're controlling the health, I guess in this situation we don't have any ways to to build up the health to gain life back. So far we're going to start to program a damage. So public void take damage. We'll pass in damage. Hopefully no emotional damage. Okay. If vulnerable timer is less than to 0, then we can take damage. So current health is equal to, we're going to use a math command called clamp. Basically just makes it quicker, so you don't have to do like current health minus equal or minus equals damage. It's just gonna like take two, like a high point and a low point, and apply the difference between the damage and it. So current health minus damage, minimum is 0. I just learned that from a recent tutorial. I figured, hey, saves on, keeps things simple. Yeah. So, okay, so if current health, if you take damage and the current health is greater than 0, as in you're still alive, let's do the animator hurt. We're going to send the player controller to the hurt, which then will in that command runs to the animator, which is private, so we can't access it, and then but they can through this class or through this method. Okay. Else player controller dot death. So if it is 0 or less, then he dies. Vulnerable timer is equal to time. Timer. Okay, so then this will reset the invulnerable timer, and we are good to go. Build this. Controller, max health is 10, vulnerable timer is 1, current. Those are the serialized fields that I was talking about. Alright, great. Now that we have finished the health controller, we can move on to display the health. To do this, you click on the scene, game object, create empty, and name this user interface. Next, right click on user interface, and go to user interface, a canvas. This will open up a canvas and create an event system. I'll leave that here, it's good for input and other things. Inside the canvas, I'll show you too. It looks a little bit bigger, but once you play the game, it will go to the size of the screen. So inside the canvas, let's add another empty object and name it HealthBar. Then we'll go to this little square in the transform section. bottom right square, hold Alt and click it to stretch it out to the size of the canvas. Next, we'll add an image to the health bar in User Interface Image. We'll name this Health Bar Max. Now drag the longer image. Make sure it's selected and drag the longer image into the source image for it. You can click on the Set Native Size, then click on the Scaling tool to make it smaller. Let's drag it. Let's go to the Move tool, bring it up to the top. Now that it's there, we can press play and see if it looks good. I think that looks fine by me for now. Even if the guy kind of goes into it slightly. I can lower the ground or something. Okay, so that's good for the max. Now that we know where it wants to be, we can try and make it the color black. Okay, now copy this, paste it in health bar, and if it's not quite in there, then you can just drag it and put it back in. And name it health bar current. Come over here and click on color and make it white. Awesome. So now, see it. You'll come down here and it'll say image type. Click on filled, and click on fill method, click on horizontal. And then this fill amount, you kind of drag it back and forth. You can see it changes it. Okay, well, now we are fully set up here. We can move on to the script. So here, this health bar in the canvas, this will hold the script for this. So, add component, new script, health bar. And even if it opens it, like I said before, potentially, you just need to go back in, right click, and edit script. Okay, so this, we're going to need a few variables, serials. Let's go serialize field. And there's other ways to do it. You know, we could do it by name, like I showed in a previous way. But for now, in this one, just to keep it simple, we'll just do the serialize field. Health controller. We need that because that's going to be our player's health being displayed. Do our image of the total health bar. Okay, in order to use the image, I believe we need the Unity engine user interface. Okay, yep. Great. Total health bar. And this will be current health bar. I know we named them, you know, health bar max and health bar current, but it doesn't really matter what we name it in here. We're going to pass it in through serialization. Okay. Let's go to the start method. Total health bar dot fill amount, like I showed earlier, is equal to player health dot max health. Player health dot max health divided by a 10. The reason we're doing it like that, because say if your max health is 10, the fill amount is 1, right? So divided by 10, 0.9. Be one less. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay. Let's go to the update, current health bar dot fill by 10. Okay, so now it's going to set the player health into the health bar every frame. Make sure it's in there. And that should be it for now. If you ever wanted to add something in here, like increase max hearts or something, that expands like the maximum of this, you could do that as well in here, or you could do it in the health controller that works with this. But you need to add some extra things. Now that we have finished programming that, we need to come over to this health bar again. Add in the health bar max and the current health bar, the player health. Basically just be you dragging whatever object is hosting this kind of script, you can just drag it over to it. Okay, so we can go to play. Now to test this, we can simply go over here to this hero knight, go down to current health and press 9. See this? 8, 7, 6. Alrighty, so that is it for the health bar. Okay, now that we have finished everything with the player health and viewing it, we can move on. Up next is the Bandit Health Controller. So come into the Bandit, add component, new script, BanditHPController. Again, even though it's opened, you may have to go back, right click, and then open again. Okay, so I did this, and my video is actually on the right screen. So to save a little time, I will paste in a little bit what I had before and just describe what's going on. So these are just the variables. I just wanted, max health, current health. Made these both serialized, but with the current health, you can get it publicly, but privately set. Only this class can set it. Okay, so got the Bandit controller, it'll pick up, and the invulnerable timers. So then in the start, it'll pick up the Bandit controller from the same game object that this is attached to. And on awake, the current health will be the max health, so full health, and the invulnerable timer will go to 0. Up next is the update. This one, we're just going to mess with the invulnerable timers. And then also, we're going to add a little debugging. Game timer greater than 0. Timer minus equals time dot delta time. Okay. Then after this, we need if dot get key down t. So this will be for debugging, like I was talking about. We're just gonna press the T button, and then the guy will take damage. So we will write the take damage right now. It's public method. Damage. basically we'll do if the invulnerable timer 0, then we can take damage. So current health to math. Just like before, we've done this. Player health controller. Health. Okay, so it sets the boundaries, and then current health minus damage. Yep, set the new health there. If health is greater than 0, then we need to do BanditController else. I guess we can just do an else statement here, actually. Else dot death. And then we set the invulnerable timer. Time. Cool. So it for the BanditHPController. So we're not adding any health, we're just taking it away. So test this out. So in order to test it, we're going to need to go set the max HP here. You know, actually, we might as well do a default to 10. Max health default. This will show up as a default as 10 soon, but okay. So let's do 10 for now. Press play. Press the button T. Oh, that's lethal damage. Damage we choose 10. Oh yeah, no wonder. So we'll do 4 damage. So it should take 3 hits to get him. Awesome. So it looks like the Bandit HP controller is working. Okay, now that we have all of the player and bandit controllers working and their HP dealt with, now we can add hitboxes, ready to apply damage. Okay, so first off, just as this character has a collider, same thing, hitbox. So for that, we can go create empty and just name it hitbox. Okay, and then inside of here, we're going to add slider. We're going to do a circle collider. We're going to put it right about here. I mean, if you want to test the animation, try best to go into an attack, play. Pretty good collider for that, in my opinion. Yep. Okay. So maybe slightly in actually. Okay. Then we will add a component script. Oh yeah, and also set this as a trigger right here with this button, this collider. If not, it'll be hard and it'll bounce off things. But this way, it'll go through things and just count as a trigger. So add a script. Call it player hitbox. And then if it opens, go back into it and click edit script. So we're gonna need, you can delete these two. Serialize field. Public int damage. We can set it as a default for 1. Then we're gonna want to grab we're going to want a list of basically Bandit HP controllers. Anything that will be inside of our box when an attack happens. So in case you want to add multiple enemies, you'll be free to do so. So any of the enemies that are inside of that hitbox will take damage, as long as they have a health controller or about an HP controller. Bandit list. Okay, so now since this is more based on a trigger event, use those commands. And on trigger, enter 2D. Send in. So this is another function the Unity has that it takes a collider and makes out a trigger event. So this is when it enters, when they overlap each other, basically. This is called. So collision, name object, and that's like an event. Things overlap. HP controller. So we're creating a new, we're creating a new version of this, and then just sending the data to us. And if this our box collides with a Bandit HP controller, enters inside it, and they overlap, then if bandit list contains controller false, so if it does not contain this controller, then add it. Okay. Then we can move on to the exit. So I'll just copy this, enter. Let's change this to so game object. Exits, then remove it. So if an enemy leaves this box, then they will no longer get damage applied to them after this. Okay, so this is running during those trigger events, and they'll stay there until the other trigger event happens. So we can simply add avoid damage. Go for each controller, for each item in bandit list, list of items. Damage. Damage. Alright, so it's the player hitbox. Now we will need to bind this event to the user. So to do that, I need to add some animation events. So like I showed you here, click on your Hero Knight, go to the animation, click on the attack. Then scroll this bar and move it to where you see maximum attack is where the damage should be applied, and I think it's this one. Okay, so then I'm going to come over here and add an event. Okay, so what we're going to want to put in here is a new event receiver. It's going to basically catch this. So go into the hero, add component, new script, animation event receiver. Edit the script. There will be no start. This is just basic one, just one function on attack. So we're basically creating on attack function that's going to invoke the animator. Okay, on it. Invoke. In order to have the invoke, I believe we need using Unity engine.events. Nope. Oh, what happened here? Oh, that was not supposed to happen. Unity event. There we go. Yep. Okay. Now we have it. Great. So that. Okay. So now go into the animation where we did that. So the hero knight animation, attack one. That's what we did on the first attack. We went over to here in this event. So now go over here and go to the animation event receiver methods on attack. And it'll say on attack right there, just like that. So do the same thing for the other two attacks. Find the best place about right there. Right there, this one. So add it. It's on attack. See, it's there on attack. Okay, so 3. About that one. Okay. Add it. Choose animation event receiver on attack. Perfect. So now, should take damage. Well, actually, there's one more part of that. So, our animation event receiver. Here's what happens when it invokes the on attack. Okay, so here now you'll take the hitbox and drag it into this one here. Choose the function player hitbox, apply damage. Okay, so that should now apply damage. Run over to this guy, apply some damage to him. And it looks like the invulnerable timer is working for him too. Great. So now we can just do the same thing for the bandit. We're basically going to make it simple on ourselves. First off, let's clean this up a little. Drag all these items to the scripts folder. Okay. So hitbox. Clear hitbox. Okay, so Control V. Bandit hitbox. Name hitbox. Change the list items to HealthController. Player list. All those places change over, Control F, up, bandit list, cased actually, player list, place all, controller, HealthController. Capitalized, add capital to these ones. Great. Do it. That. Here, let's just create him one. So create empty. So my microphone doesn't just turn off. I don't know. It does that. So got the game object. We're gonna name this Bandit Hitbox. Give it a component. Bandit Hitbox. Drag it onto there. Okay. So now we also want to give our bandit the event receiver. Animation event receiver. Okay. D right now. Add hitbox. Box. Damage. Okay, so now, last but not least, go into the animation of the bandit. Back. Find out where it is he makes it. Looks right about right there. Okay. So let's this hitbox. Add component. Collider 2D. So circle collider 2D. Let's go here. About that. Make sure to press this trigger button. Okay, so that's the perfect spot on this animator down here for our light bandit attack. Click on add event. Add the animation event handler on attack. So should be all ready to go now. Next, we will be building the AI for this guy so we can see him attack us. Okay, now that we have the hitboxes taken care of and the animation event receiver along with all the other prerequisites, we can start to bring this bandit to life. So we can go to add component, script, bandit AI. Double click on this bandit AI. So I am going to paste in what I was working on before I had some technical issues and go over it. Okay, so we'll have 4 serialized fields. The location of the player, attack cooldown, the strike range, and the detect range. So detect range is like when it's going to be times by itself, so it's going to become a square around the player. So when you're inside that, the player will detect that you're around. The strike range is they won't actually swing their sword until they can actually hit you. And the cooldown just to be time between they initiate attacks. Okay, we have the BanditController in detect range, self-explanatory, in strike range, the bandit the rigid body of the bandit that's attached to the same object. Attack cooldown left, attack wait. This will be somewhat similar to attack cooldown, but it has to do more with detection before they start to try to pursue or choose to not pursue, depending on how far away you are. The attack weight left. So we initiate the controller in the rigid body. We do the squaring of the detect range to make the square. It'll be used to for detection purposes around the character. And then set the attack cooldown, attack weight. Okay, so now moving on to the update. So basically, the update first starting, we want to take down the weight left and the cooldown left. Left is equals time.delta time. Attack cooldown left equals next. See, this has to be attack weight. 1 second. If attack cooldown left less than or equal to 0 float, and in strike range is equal to true, and Bandit is not dead. Okay, so this seems like a good reason to be able to attack. There's cooldown still above 0, or sorry, less than 0. You're in strike range, and dead. Okay, sounds like a good thing to me. So then, attack cooldown left. Attack down. Reset that. Set that. Attack. Then these are met, they will attack. Leave this attack weight left. Should be a bit more. Good. Okay, so then also if the attack weight left is to 0f, we're gonna make them a look for player. We'll create a command to do this. Then if range I have one detect range. There. Pursue player. basic movements if you ever wanted to make some for the character. Okay, so now we can write these two, look for character, and void so basically do a square of the player, check if you're in that range. Square distance squared dot position minus transform dot position dot square magnitude. If square is less to detect range, true. Player. Now we want to do the pursue player. Pursue player. Not BanditController is dead. Not dead. Then do a vector. Location transform dot position minus transform. Okay. Let's see what else we need. So we got towards, make them go towards the player. So to BanditController dot move velocity. We'll send it only the X value because that's the only one that matters. For this left and right movement, jumping is a whole different story. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we go float. Change it that they're in strike range or not, based on strike range square. Square location dot square. Okay. If this time we're doing strike range. Then in strike range equals true. It's false. Okay, so that basic movement. Great. So see what this does. Let's give it a rundown. Targets day, so increment cooldowns, or decrement cooldowns. Attack if dead. Okay. Also, pursue. So if you somehow you get out of the way within that time, then they will go back to not without aggro. Okay, so yeah, I think that should do it. Test this out. So script is on. We need player location, so you can drag the hero knight over to it. Detect range is 10. Let's see how this does. Okay, so closer. Box. After a little debugging, I learned what the problem was, why he was going the opposite direction. Of course, it's in the BanditController. Okay, so BanditController, because that deals with all the movements. Edit script down to where he moves. Oh look, there was a minus put there by mistake. Debugging. Okay. So basically, what you can do is attach it to Unity here, and then when you press play, it'll step into this when you press. Anyway, so now let's test it out a final time. Looks like there's one more thing we need to fix. Looks like he's coming at us straight without the animation working. I believe that is also in the BanditController. Being that's an integer anim state 2. Wow, I see where the problem was happening. This delay to idle was 0.0. I need to put it 0.05. Oops. That is in the BanditController delay to idle, so down in the moving. Okay. So now when you move closer, so then run at you and attack. Looks like the range may be a little off. Strike range 4. Strike range. Oh, okay, we're gonna debug here. Touch it to Unity. You might have a pop-up when you go into Unity. So now when I run towards him, strike range, that and add a watch. Strike range, add a watch. I'll actually take these away and let it go until he gets close to us, and then we will add the breakpoints. Okay. So his strike range looks like the distance squared is 3.6. So strike range Needs to be about 4. Okay. So let's change the strike range to 4. Also the time between attack, let's see. Breakpoint. Breakpoint 3.6. 2. False. So still think strike range is 4. Okay, so says 3. Gotta click 4. Okay. Because it was a serialized field. Alright, let's see if he attacks us now. See what's happening this time. Watch. Gotta watch. Negative, so he should have attacked. Attack. To it. Set. Attack. Oh man. Sheesh. Alrighty then. Also, I think that his attack weight should be like 2. That's what. Oh, here we go. So that's better. So now, it's like no damage is being applied. That should be needs to be addressed, and that is in the health controller to do void update. That is invulnerable time. Okay, with all these, this should be error free now and ready to go. Get close, he comes at us, takes a swing, we lose a heart. Oh, we got one more bug. If you're in circle with this guy, you can keep hitting him like this. Looks like this needs to be true. In the player hitbox. You also need to do the same thing to the bandit hitbox. Okay. Probably. Okay, last but not least, this attack weight left must be less than cooldown, so let's just go hard code that to Tack weight 1. Okay, and that should fix our issues. So let's test them out. Close, they chase us, gives us damage. Okay, so let's just remove that. Tack weight left, tack weight left in this outer bracket. We don't really need that. Alrighty, so that should solve our issue. He will keep coming after us. Well, that concludes this tutorial, and I really appreciate you sticking around and watching. Please give me your feedback, and I'd love to hear it. Like and subscribe. Well, if you're still around, I appreciate you once more, and let's have some fun. So, let's make this a little more interesting, shall we? Let's look at the scene. Okay, so why not? Stop going. I'll make this guy a lot smaller. Now he jumps about height. Guy. Zoom in. With the Bandit hitbox, we're going to make that a little bit smaller too. And the only way to do that is edit the collider. All right. Same thing for our. It looks like that one actually automatically did it. Sure why that one didn't. Anyway, okay, perfect. So. It looks like he's having a problem turning. In the BanditController, we didn't add in the swap direction of sprite. Okay, should do it. Here. Seeing is great. that's all we have to do. Alright, well I just swapped these around. Band-Aid for now, and that's all the issue. So now that this guy is working, oh heck, why not just make a few more of him? Copy this, copy him, Control V, found. So, 4 bandits now, but also have 10. Go, a whole new game. Oh no, pulling me down. They got me, Johnny. Oh no, start over. Woohoo. That, take that. Ugh. Push me off screen. Let's go, boys. Ugh. They got too much health, huh? Let's go 3. Take off like a bandit.